everyone else is on, and we we just have a board of 7.
Mr. King, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Okay, Ms. Woodson. Well, with that being said, because I think we're just a couple of minutes after 4, are we ready to record, Ms. Tika?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Winston-Salem Transit Authority board meeting here in May. Good to see everybody. Looks like everybody's in wonderful moods despite the rain, and got a little sunshine going on out there. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. And we do have a busy meeting today, a lot to cover today. So we will get right to it. Let me, as always, because we are still virtual, let me read our statement. You would think I would have this memorized by now. Pursuant to the policies and procedures adopted by the City Council relative to virtual meetings, it has been determined that it is not feasible for the members of this committee to meet together physically due to the pandemic or the remnants of the pandemic. All members are participating remotely. Members will vote by roll call vote. Each member will be recognized by roll call and then state their vote. With that being said, as always, Tika, if you would be so kind to do a verbal roll call.
Certainly. Mr. Robert Garcia.
Here.
Mr. Keith King.
Present.
Mr. Willie Clark.
Present.
Dr. Jack Fleer.
Present.
Ms. Jeanette Lawson Jackson. Mr. Philip Osborne.
I am present and accounted for.
And Ms. Latanya Wright.
All right, we do have a quorum, Ms. Woodson. Okay. And we'll go right to, and I just said, Ms. Woodson, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the board, we once again pass along our deepest condolences and feelings for what you've gone through, and know that you were in our thoughts. I want to say today's safety message, and I've been thinking about this today, and if you would please allow me, instead of a safety message, I'd like to just have a little 30-second moment of silence. A lot's going on in our nation. I know it happens every day. It happens in our city every day, practically, even though we would like it to be different, but especially what happened in Uvalde, Texas just recently. I'm sure, as with myself, it has torn through the hearts of many of you, and it hurts. And what little we can do, but one thing we can do is to honor and to respect and to certainly keep them in our thoughts and our prayers. So if you would, our safety message or our message today is just a, Ms. Woodson, if you would allow me a 30-second moment of silence for those families. For those
yes,
families.
sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
As always, we open the meeting up to public comment. I did not see anybody sign on for public comment. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so no one has signed on, and as always, they certainly have the ability and the invitation at every board meeting since we've been virtual to join us. All right, lots of action items, and everyone, I know Tika sent out the revised package about 20 minutes before the meeting. There was a lot of changes. It wasn't that other than she was just waiting on some changes, and we thank her for her quick action on that and to send them to us. So I got to think that everybody has received them. There was one change in the action items, if I'm correct, Ms. Woodson, on that. So we'll go straight to the action items. The approval of the March 31st board minutes from our last meeting. If we can just scroll down to them, then we'll scroll back up here to the agenda and just have everyone, if you haven't already taken a look, maybe just take a quick gander. Let us know if you see anything that needs to be revised, edited, corrected.
When appropriate, I move they be adopted.
Thank you, Dr. Flair. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 31st. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. King. And by roll call vote, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the March 31st meeting, please signify by saying aye. Robert Garcia, aye.
Keith
Keith
King,
King.
aye. No, sorry.
Willie Clark,
Aye.
Dr. Fleer,
Aye.
Mr. Osborne,
Aye.
Mr. Okay. All present board members have voted.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the March 31st meeting have been approved. Now moving to our first resolution here, a resolution authorizing the purchase orders for sole source vendors. Ms. Woodson, if you'd like to.
Good afternoon again, board members, and I do would like to thank you for your condolences, well received, and I appreciate your having me in your thoughts as well as my family. Thank you. The agenda item you have before you this afternoon is a resolution asking for the board to approve staff to request or recommend a purchase order or purchase orders to our vendors for parts, equipment, etc., for the upkeep and the maintenance of our needs here at the Winston-Salem Transit Authority. This is an item that we bring to the board annually to request. It has been modified just a tad, but this is to include other vendors that we have had to employ, or not employ, but to contract with for services, as well as repairs for equipment, maintenance equipment that we need to purchase. And we're asking if the board would approve us to request that the city manager and the city council approve our request for the purchase orders. And it is individual orders. The sheet of that Exhibit A identifies all of the vendors that we actually, the majority of the vendors that we actually contract with for purchases and services. So you'll see the individual amounts that we are asking for approval to ask the city council to approve individual purchase orders for.
And Ms. Woodson, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that a question always comes up every year about if these companies that we seek out bids from, if they're minority-based companies, which I do believe, I know that we adhere to. Am I correct? And that's on this list too.
When we are soliciting quotes as well as contracts with vendors, we also include the request for DBE certified vendors. And if they meet that need by showing proof of their certification, then they're in the bidding process. That does not guarantee a purchase, but it is taken into consideration because we want to always include DBE as well as MWBE in our selection process.
Fellow board members, any questions regarding the resolution before you?
Ms. Woodson, when there are possible multiple providers, are these competitive bids or how does that work?
these, for this specific, item, so it would be a sole source would be when, if we needed a part or a service from Gillick per se, then because Gillick is the sole source provider of that part, it would not be competitive. It would just go to the purchase, or the award for that part would go to Gillick or New Flyer or Piedmont Fence, because they're actually the only one that can provide that service.
I thought that's what sole source might mean, but I wasn't certain. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions?
I move to be adopted.
Thank you very much, Dr. Flair. We have a motion to adopt. Do we have a second?
Keith King, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. King. Tika, if you would be so kind to do the roll call vote, those in favor of the resolution authorizing purchase orders for sole source vendors, signify by saying aye. Tika, if you'd like to take over.
Chairman Garcia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Keith King,
Aye.
Mr. Willie Clark,
Aye.
Dr. Jack Clear,
Aye.
and Mr. Philip Osborne.
Aye.
All present members have voted.
Thank you very much, Tika. Resolution has been approved. Our next resolution comes, WSTA to recommend to the city council to award contract with GMB Circumatics for a multi-agency real-time automated vehicle locator. And this is a new provider for us. Am I correct, Ms. Woodson?
Yes, sir. So this provider is GMV Synchromatics. This company actually provides AVL, automatic vehicle locator information in real time for the passengers, as well as for us as the agency. This would actually be replacing NextBus. NextBus is our current AVL provider and have been so since 2012. So 2012, we contracted with NextBus for our AVL services, and that service has been, to say the least, it has had some issues. As far as tracking, and then most recently in, I believe it was February, March, they had some issues with the 3G when everything upgraded. So at this current time, we do not have an active AVL connection. So our passengers have to go back to the old way of calling in if they want to locate their buses, because right now that feature is not working due to the 3G upgrade. However, we participated with PART, as well as Burlington, Greensboro, High Point, Chapel Hill, Orange County, Davidson County, in a regional effort to secure a regional AVL provider. So PART actually took the lead on this advertisement, and they went out and advertised to all agencies, including DBE, any DBE vendors that were available. They advertised this on the street, and they went to several different responses. I think we had 7 different agencies to actually submit and respond to the bid. And I will note that NextBus did not submit a bid. So out of those agencies, we had Transloc, Passio, Ecolane, Passio, CTS, Connex, and GMV. So we're 5 responsive bidders. And all of them submitted those and went through the competitive bid process. And out of that process, we, as an agency, Carol Patrick, our AVL our data analyst, actually sat on the team of the committee that were actually awarding the contract with them, and they all bidded, and the selected vendor was GMV Synchromatics. So some of the different things that they provide would be the automatic passenger tracking location. So any passengers that would utilize this app for GMV will be able to look at it in real time to see where their bus is located. As the agency, we can actually pull up that information on our dispatch screens to determine where they are. It also tracks the vehicles for on-time performance. So I might also add that while we have the issue with our current provider, we are not able to track on-time performance for our fixed route buses. So this is something that's very necessary for reporting and performance. GMV also offers our automatic voice annunciators that will announce the stops when passengers, or when we're approaching a passenger stop. It makes those announcements for them, and that's helpful to our community that is visually impaired, and et cetera. So all of those things are identified as features within the GMV package. And so that was the selected choice. So what we're doing this afternoon is we're bringing this item to the board because of the total price. It exceeds the board's threshold. So the total price for the options that we have identified funding for currently, it is up to $550,000. So the board's threshold is $300,000. With that being said, staff is bringing this item to you. The board should get permission for us to take and present this to recommend GMV as the AVL provider for Winston-Salem Transit Authority, along with the other agencies. And we are asking the board to approve us to take this to recommend this to City Council and the city manager. So that's what the resolution is for at this time. And this is including, the things that we're currently will be able to get with, if we are approved throughout you and the city council. We'll get these things, and then once funding is available, more funding is available, we'll actually add to our existing service and get more features that they offer, because they do offer more than what we actually are able to fund at this time. And I'll entertain any
Ms.
questions.
Woodson, I've got to think that with the fact that we currently, as you stated, Next Bus is just not operational right now. So this would definitely be a high priority.
Yes, it is. It's a high priority. We actually, the current contract is about to expire with Next Bus anyway. So we were going to have to advertise it as well internally. However, since PART and the other agencies wanted to join together and do a regional project, we decided to join forces with them and identify a AVL provider that way. And that way, with it being regional, it also adds some benefits to of having data, being able to share data from each other agency that's contracted with GMV. So that is something else that will be helpful.
Excuse me, Ms. Woodson. We have a lot of background noise, everyone. Would you please check your mute button?
Thank you. So yes, as I was stating, this provider is one that the region actually selected. So if we are able and approved to contract with them, then it will provide us some benefits as a regional partner. And that would allow us data sharing and exploring their performance measures, as well as them exploring ours, and may open some opportunities for further things in the future.
Is the price quoted for us, is that like connected to if everybody is on board with this, or is it just ours?
This
Because
is
I know you
just for
said
us.
PART and Greensboro and everybody, so are they making like if all 5 of us do it, this is the price? If only Worcester does it, is it going to be a different price?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this has to be approved by everybody that came before them, not just Worcester.
Right. Everybody has to have their own individual board approvals, but it is a cost savings if all of the region participate in this project and get approval to contract. Yes, sir.
Okay, because if I'm not mistaken, everybody that you mentioned was using Next Bus.
Just about. I don't believe Chapel Hill, I think they had a different provider, and Burlington, I don't think they had. Carol, can you speak to that?
Yeah, actually Chapel Hill was using Next Bus like
Okay.
us, so they're in the same boat we are.
Okay.
But Greensboro and High Point use Transload.
Transload. Mhm.
And I know they're not happy with them. I don't think Burlington or Davidson County is using anything, and I'm not sure what Orange County was using.
Fellow board members, questions?
I move its approval.
Thank you, Dr. Flair. We have a motion to approve. the resolution authorizing WSTA to recommend to the city council said company. And again, the called Synchromatic GMB. And just so everybody understands that this is just a recommendation, city council, because it's over our approval limit of 300,000. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. King. King, if you'd be so kind, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sorry, I had muted myself. Chairman Garcia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman King. Mr. King. Vice Chairman King, we need your vote, please.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you
I don't
vote
know.
for the resolution?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Willie Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Philip Osborne.
Aye.
All members present have voted.
Thank you very much, Jacob.
Thank you.
The resolution has been approved. Thank you, Ms. Woodson, for that. Hopefully that can pass very quickly. Would that come up before the next city council meeting, or is
Yes,
that
sir.
a separate issue?
Yes, it will. That will be taken to city council in their June meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think I missed Dr. Fleer. Dr. Fleer, did I call your name?
No, aye.
Thank you. Now we're complete.
Thank you. Good catch. All right, moving on. Our next resolution is authorizing the fiscal year 2021-22, the Rural Operating Assistance Program. And again, that's got a acronym, ROAP,
Yes.
ROAP. Ms.
You all
Woodson,
may be familiar with that as the EdTap, the elderly and disabled. That's what we generally, it's inclusive of the ROAP funding. And I believe we have brought this item for the board approval prior to, I don't believe we did in 2021, but in 2020 we did. And basically what this is the state of North Carolina offers and provides funding for the local transportation providers, agencies in the rural community to help them and support funding for the elderly and disabled transportation. And these are smaller agencies that are sub-recipients of the city of Winston-Salem. There are 11 of them. And this year, unfortunately, the funding was reduced. So the state only issued $171,781 to be dispersed and allocated between the 11 agencies. So when that comes to us through a formula that is provided by the state, we actually divide those allocations up and submit them to the state for approval and the county. So these are the totals of that broken down for the 11 agencies. And that totals up to the $171,781. Excuse me, tongue twisted. So those are the agencies and they apply, and it's based on the formula that's set forth at the state and with the county. So those are the amounts of the awards. So the resolution that we have brought to you this afternoon is just asking for approval to actually submit this allocation amount to the city so that the services can be covered and paid for, funded through the state's funding. And this is for the previous year. So I will say that this is a late resolution, but they're due to issues that I think everyone is having all over with staffing. Forsyth County has had some different challenges. So they were late responding to our requests. And then we had to work out some other issues. And so we have the resolution this afternoon to approve funding for transportation that has already been provided.
And Ms. Woodson, because of course TransAid is listing, that's our part, that is our part of this whole scenario.
Yes,
These other agencies apply on their own.
The other agencies will get the funding that's allocated towards them, But again, this was for services that have been rendered from July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. So the funds are there and they have been sent, forwarded to the city for disbursement. So we actually provide the invoicing. Our Jackie, she actually makes sure that she goes through the process of verifying the data and submits that through the program provided by the state. Submits those invoices, and then they will at that time pay those agencies that amount of money
Okay.
for the trips that they provide.
Okay. Fellow board members, any questions? And again, we're getting a lot of background noise from someone's computer. You please check your background noise. Any questions, fellow board members? And Ms. Woodson, when you said we're low, how far behind? Now we're behind in presenting this?
Because they have already, the agencies, including TransAid, we've been providing the transportation for the elderly and disabled for this past year since July of 2021. So the transportation has not stopped. It's been flowing, but the payments have to be paid to the agencies, including TransAid. So once this is approved, they'll go through the process of, we've already gone through the process of submitting the invoices, but the money will be transferred to the city so that the agencies can be paid for their services that they have provided.
Okay. And this, and approving this resolution is saying we are ready to receive these funds.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
I move its approval.
We have a motion to approve by Dr. Fleer. Do we have a second?
Willie Clark, second.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. We have a second. We will go by roll call. Tika, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Sorry, I was muted again. Chairman Robert Garcia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Keith King,
Aye.
Mr. Willie Clark,
Aye.
Dr. Jack Fleer,
Aye.
Mr. Philip Osborne.
Aye.
All present board members have voted.
Thank
Tika.
you.
The resolution to authorize the fiscal year for ROPE has been approved. Moving forward, we have an approval. We're going to talk about the approval of Winston Board of Directors meeting. We're going to have a date and time change for June. Ms. Woodson?
Yes, board members, I have spoken to Mr. Garcia, and we know that generally in the month of June, we actually do not have a meeting in June because that's the time that vacations and et cetera are taking place. And we do have some that's going to happen the last week in June. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Garcia as well. So we had asked and would like to ask the board if they would so approve to change the date for the meeting for June to June 23rd. That would be, so it wouldn't be the last Thursday in the month of June, but it'd be the next to the last Thursday in the month of June. And we actually talked about that as well as a time change if that is, if the board so approves. But I believe we have to, if you all did want to change the time, I would have to make sure that that time is appropriate and available due for the city's calendar. So I know that the 4 o'clock time on June 23rd is open and available to the WSTA board to meet if the board so approves, because I've already checked with the city on that. So that's it's not an actual resolution, but an approval if the board so approves.
Fellow board members, are there any concerns with regards to that? I know for some of our new board members, you might not have known, but normally in June, we do, it's almost like a summer break for the board. But we will have a very short meeting in June because I know there's some things that are going to come up for us.
And that was, if I may, Mr. Garcia, I forgot to expound on the reason we would ask for the date change rather than the cancellation. We this year, the city will be bringing back the National Black Theater Festival. And, because of COVID, we had not been able to participate in that or have the Black Theater Festival biannually as we planned. So they want to bring that back this year. And the dates for the Black Theater Festival are August the 1st through the 6th. With that being said, the Black Theater Festival requires transportation. And WSTA is currently short-staffed and are not able to provide shuttle service. So we are utilizing our bidding process to select vendors that would support the Black Theater Festival shuttle service. We just actually released that. It'll be released, if not today, tomorrow for advertisement. And we're asking for bidders to be able to provide buses as well as drivers for that week to support the Black Theater Festival. Because of the timing of the board and the time the city council does not meet in July, and the timing that's needed for the vendors to be, to prepare, we will need to have the board to approve whomever that selected vendor is for the Black Theater Festival. So that, along with one other resolution, is probably the only two items that will be on the agenda if you decide to meet in June. The other item that we will probably be bringing to you would be the resolution that you see removed from this item, which will be for security services. We have to, our current security company, North State Security, we actually bidded that service out as well. And we have the scores and everything in. We just have to tally that up to make sure who the award is. So that will come to the board in June as well, if you are amenable to meeting on June the 23rd. So those will be the only two action items. So as Mr. Garcia said, it would be a short meeting, but a very necessary meeting that the board can adjust accordingly.
And Ms. Woodson mentioned, everyone, earlier that she'll look into other times. If you say, maybe on that day, if it's a short meeting, can we do one in the morning? So if there's some options, we'll bring it before the board. If there are no concerns as far as the date is concerned, we'll say tentatively 4 o'clock, but if there's some available dates that might get sent out, we'll just do a survey and we might have it. But we would definitely need a quorum because this is very important. The Black Theater Festival, which we've participated in for some years now, is huge. And you're going to have your work cut out for you, Ms. Woodson, that's for sure. Especially with the
I won't take credit for that. That'll be Mr. Crawford and Lisa Side. So I won't, they'll be working it and they do a fine job at it. So I'll let them continue.
Yep. Questions, concerns, fellow board members?
This is Jack Blair. I have no concerns with either the date change or the time at 4 o'clock.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Blair.
Mr. King, I have no concerns either.
All right. If there's no further comments or concerns or questions, Ms. Woodson, we'll leave it in your capable hands to let us know and we will move forward from that. But go ahead and pencil it in for the 23rd at 4. And should we have to change the time, we will let you know.
Thank you.
Next is the approval of future in-person or virtual board meetings.
So yes, sir, this is actually not a resolution as well. Being that we have been participating in virtual meetings for the past year or more due to COVID, and now we're transitioning back into in-person meetings. The city has determined, and the city attorney has made us aware that moving forward, we do, because we know that COVID is not gone necessarily, and there are people with medical issues or concerns that may not be able to meet in person regularly. So the option is there, and Tanique will back me up or help me out with this if I misstated. The option is there for us to continue, the board to continue to meet virtually if the board if you so desire. However, it has to be ruled upon in person. So in other words, you would have to meet in person in order and vote whether or not you want to continue to meet virtually or in person.
Now, if I may interrupt, briefly, Dot. City Council hasn't approved a new meeting structure yet, but they will have something going to their June meeting. So we may want to hold off on making any recommended changes on the structure of how the meetings can happen. But once we know that, then yes, the body will need to meet in person to determine their meeting structures going forward for virtual or in person.
Thank you.
But we may want to hold off on any decisions right now.
Okay. And Tanique, correct me if I'm wrong, but with those options will be the one where should someone choose to attend virtually, that we will make we will make accommodations for that individual?
I'm not sure yet, sir.
Okay.
Those are things that council is considering, but there are certain laws that govern that. And
Okay.
so before I can tell you for certain that you would have that option, we may want to wait until council has considered all legal action and then given us guidance.
Okay, great. Board members, if there are questions? Okay. If there's no questions, we'll move on. Thank you for letting us know that. We'll just wait to hear from the two of you on that. Thank you for keeping us aware. Now we're going to go down to the informational items. I believe we got a report in regards to our hiring activity, our update, which is, I'm sure like with everybody else, Ms. Woodson, is a challenge.
Yes, and I apologize for scrolling through this. I was going the wrong direction. So I'll get to it and here we go. All right. So yes, sir. Basically, I just wanted to brief the board on our current status as far as our hiring. We are still operating with our reduced services. That's temporarily reduced due to our staffing. And the informational item that you have before you just basically states that WSTA has been offered the opportunity with the funds received by the Federal Transit Administration to utilize those to do things to help with us with our hiring and trying to omit the or complete our need for drivers so that we can return that service back to the street and meet the need and the shortage as far as transit is concerned as well. So as the informational item states, it just tells you that we have we have increased our classes. So we've actually, previously, we would maybe have a class every 3 months or so or quarterly. We've increased that and tried to reduce some what we can and have the classes hired at least monthly or bi-monthly, depending on the size of the class and the credentials. Because of course, if the class that we hire, if they don't have anything other than a permit, then they have to have additional training in order to actually get their license before they can actually be trained on the vehicle in order to go into revenue service. So it is a process, and our hiring process can last up to 2 months. And depending on their the safety's direction on how they are released into revenue service and are safe to do so, that may even extend beyond the 2-month period. So this chart that we have today just shows Exhibit B. It just shows us how many classes, or shows you how many classes we've had in the past few months since April of 2021. And I wanted to show how many was hired versus how many actually showed up for the first day of class, because there's factors including whether or not they're able to get their permit. And then we relaxed that in the last couple of classes, and we tried an option to try to help people to want to work and offer to teach them, or not really teach them, but help them to get their permit. And we didn't see where that has actually been that successful, to be quite honest. So, but it did take a lot of staff time. So in order to, we still will help you get your license if you applied, but we would ask that you have at least your permit by day 1 of class. This right here, the last class that we had, when this board package was created, was on the 25th. But we did actually start a new hire class on May the 23rd, this past Monday, and we hired 15, but we were only able to, the first day of class, we had 12. So we lost 3 of those candidates before the first day of class for various reasons. So we have to wait for things to come back, and that was that. Also the second column or box in this format is the let you know about the bonus program. As you all know, we brought to the board several months ago when we had the available funding, CARES Act, as well as the ARC funding. We actually started a sign-on bonus where anyone that new hires that came to work for WSTA was able to receive a bonus, $1,000 the first 6 months. After completing the first 6 months, at least 120 hours a month, you would receive $500, and then you receive the other 500 at the end of the next 12 months, 6 months. So we at least want to encourage people to stay with us for 12 months, and then you will receive that $1,000 bonus. So this just shows how many has actually participated in the bonus program since we started it, and the total amount that has been paid out to employees that per department that receive the bonus. And then the final box shows the referral. So with that, we also had an internal employee referral program that would give employees $300 per candidate that they solicited to come work for WSTA. And then once they came on board, they were actually able to receive the $300 if they met that criteria as well. So we've had a total of $7,500 paid out in bonus money and a total of $1,500 paid out in employee referrals. So it's helpful. We still are short staffed, but like I said earlier, we're having classes as often as we possibly can. So I want the board to know that we are doing all that we can to solicit and hire and fill those gaps so that we can return the suspended service back to the street prior to September. Because we ended that service or suspended the service September 20th, 2021. So it is staff's hope that we can return those 12 routes back to the street no later than July 2022.
Ms. Woodson, do you have just thinking ahead, and we certainly hope that we can cover those routes again and bring them back, but is there a contingency plan should we have to cut more routes?
We're hopeful because we are hiring a little bit more because with the increases in the rates, the driver rates, that has helped us. But we do not have a contingency plan, honestly, for reducing any more service than we actually do right now. Now, some days, if we are short staffed because of our current shortage as well as call outs, then we may have to announce to the public that we may have to suspend routes such as Route 100. But anytime we have to suspend anything beyond what we currently have not operating, we utilize the routes that we have the less ridership on. So like Route 100 is still running, but it stops, midday. If we have to do anything, we would utilize the routes that have less ridership first.
Okay.
But hopefully we will be returning routes to the street instead of removing any additional routes. Any other questions?
So as a proportion of the routes that occur on a typical day, what is 12 suspended routes?
So like we had in September, we had 12 routes that were cut. Instead of running until 12 o'clock at night, we actually cut service or temporarily suspended service in the evening because that's the time that we had the least amount of ridership. So
Right.
Bringing those in at 7 or 6:35, around that time frame, and they're coming in off the street. So what we did was we were able to recalculate our run board and to have to meet that need and still provide that level of service for those 12 routes. So we have the other routes that are still running to 12 midnight. It's just those actual 12 routes that are not running until they stop running at around 7 o'clock that evening.
So they're only partially suspended.
Yes, sir. They're partially suspended. They're just suspended from 7 o'clock p.m. to 12 o'clock.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Woodson, with the possibility of, as it goes, sometimes when you're having to restructure something, it sometimes alerts us to the fact that, oh, we might be able to live with this the way it is now. Maybe we've discovered something, and in the mayhem that is having to restructure. Has that been the case where you might have thought, you know what, we had to do this, but now I can see where maybe we can eliminate that and another cost saving measure.
Yes, sir. And that's one of the things that Carol has been doing is looking at the data and looking at it hour by hour, day by day, and just calculating and making recommendations to me as well as the city as far as what our routes look like and our ridership. We currently have, I don't know if the board remembers, we talked about a study of WSTA services with HDR. You all approved that several months ago. And
Yes.
so HDR has been meeting, and they actually on May 12th, they did some ride arounds. So I will be next month or the month after, I'll bring some data up, some current data up to the board just to share with you about the next steps with HDR. But that is what the purpose of that study, to look at our existing routes, to look at our coverage area, to look at our ridership, and to look at the services that we provide in order to make a recommendation if that means reducing service, changing service. But that's what HDR, that firm, has been hired to do, to help us to make sure that we make decisions to operate as efficiently as possible. And that may include some of those suspended routes or any other routes that may need to be tweaked or stopped at a different time, and adjusting the times for, to accommodate peak times and frequency and things of that nature.
Okay. Great.
So that study is on the way. It's moving.
Fellow board members, any further questions?
Ms. Woodson, this is Jack Fleer. I was asked recently whether, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to find out what you believe, whether it is possible to have some routes served by smaller buses because of the capacity on those regular sized buses not being, or sort of being excessive. Would that, obviously that involves purchasing or somehow securing alternative buses, but would it be a reasonable thing to consider?
So, yeah, so one of the things that the study is actually, we've asked them to evaluate and make a recommendation on is microtransit, which would be utilizing smaller vehicles. So that would have us create an opportunity to purchase a smaller size vehicle, because it would have a need to have more seating capacity than the Trans-A vans, which only seat 16 to 18 passengers. So it would be beneficial in that respect, and the cost of the vehicle itself. But outside of the cost, there's really not a difference in operating a big 35 to 40-foot bus versus a 36-foot bus. But that is something that we have discussed, staff has, and that is an option that we're looking at, is actually purchasing some different size vehicles for that reason. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay. Well, if there's no further comments, Ms. Woodson, thank you for that. And now we get to hear from Ms. Tina Carson Wilkins, who we haven't heard from in a long time.
Yes.
That's right. She's bound to have lots to share with us.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Hi,
It's so
Tina.
good to see you all. So thank you so much, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, back in April 18th, I think, the decision was made by a federal judge to strike down, or more or less to overturn, the decision to continue having passengers using public transportation, planes, trains, buses, etc., wearing masks. So on April the 19th, the Transit Authority, along with some of the other systems in the region, decided to put out information that effective immediately, masks were no longer required by passengers, either on our buses or in the transportation center. And actually, we gave passengers and visitors the option of wearing masks on the bus and or in the TC. While many of us, the employees, choose to continue wearing our masks, many of the passengers have just taken them off and decided that they would rather go without them. So the information has been posted on our social media as well as throughout the transportation center, and it's been received very well. So unless and until that changes, that's going to be our stance on the federal mask mandate, or at least I'm wearing masks here at the TC. I'd like to let you know that we partnered with PART as well as GTA, Link Transit, DC Rides, and High Point, and we're all conducting, I hope you can see that, we're participating in surveys for the ridership for our various riders. It's a 15-question survey that we're asking questions like, which best describes how often they ride the bus? Since COVID started, are they riding more or less? Just a few of the questions that they ask, but it's a 15 question survey. We have it in a hard copy. And one of the great things that PART wanted everyone to be able to have the option of doing was putting a box in our various facilities, and passengers can either write the answers in the survey and drop them in the box. They could write the answers in the survey, stick it in the mail. They have the option of taking the survey through SurveyMonkey. They can also scan the QR code that's found on the poster, and or they can call over to PART and get the questions answered. They can answer the questions over the telephone. So, I mean, there are so many different options that they have. This is going to help us find out what our passengers are interested in doing, if they're back to riding the bus. And this is all in an effort to see what's going on with our ridership. For anyone who participates, there's going to be a drawing, and we all have donated items for a swag bag. WSTA actually donated bags, and so I'm hoping that that will be what's used to be able to drop all of the other goodies in. So that's something that we're doing, and that's going to last for perhaps about another week more or so more. But I have boxes downstairs in the transportation center in the lobby that are full. And so I'm having to pull those surveys out, put them together, and make arrangements with the folks at PART. They have, I think it's Regina Richburg is their new marketing person. And we're going to be making arrangements to get all of that information over to Regina. Also, for the month of April, I reported that we participated in the BIC workshops, and that's something that we do quarterly. Any new members of our community, people who may or may not understand English, or who may or may not just be familiar with some of the services that are offered to them through Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. That's a workshop that we participate in. Usually we are the last agency to share information about public transportation. So they learn about schools, they learn about working with the law enforcement community, learn about any health opportunities through Novant or the health department that they have available to them. But it's called Building Integrated Communities. It is a program that has been offered for quite some time by the Human Relations Department through the City of Winston-Salem. It's an absolute pleasure and honor for us to be a part of it, because we get to talk about the transportation system. And one of the points that I made to folks who were viewing the workshop is that, you know, gas prices are what we call ridiculous now. And so they have the option of riding the bus for just $1 one way. And so it was a great time, and we got quite a few questions from the people who participated, but we participate in that workshop quarterly. So we're looking forward to doing it again at least twice coming for this year. For April activities, we wanted to let you know that there were some things that were coming up, but one of the things that we really felt deeply about was the fact that a Joy Prom was held during the course, just a couple of weeks ago. Joy Prom is an event that's sponsored for people with disabilities. I think the people who participated had such a good time. Unfortunately, one of the agencies reported that some of their customers, clients, consumers tested positive for COVID following that event. And so that led us to sadly have to cancel our plans for the Accessible Festival for the year. I think, we were all really looking forward to it. We were just getting really charged up about it. And when we learned that the members or people who participated in the prom tested, some of them, a good number, tested positive for COVID, we were just kind of concerned and didn't want to take that chance. And so the information where you see that we are we were planning on having a partnership with Bayada and a couple of other agencies. It didn't pan out. So sadly, we're not gonna see our friends this year. Hopefully we'll be able to do it next year, but it's better to be safe than not. And so finally, let me share with you that the Safe Bus replica is going to be featured for Juneteenth, the celebration in downtown Winston-Salem. We're going to get the bus over there. And so, I mean, this is something we've been planning for a couple of months. We're really excited that they asked us to come back. And so if you happen to be in downtown Winston-Salem, do seek out that bus because we're going to have information on it as well, so people will know about the history of the Safe Bus Company as they enjoy all of the activities and festivities that come along with the Juneteenth celebration that's sponsored by the city of Winston-Salem. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Certainly understand about the Accessible Festival.
Yeah.
It's such a neat thing that you guys do and Winston does and with everybody that's involved. But cross our fingers, hopefully it'll come back soon.
Yeah.
Mhm. Any questions, anyone for Miss Tina? Tina, have we thought, you said something, of course, with the rising gas prices, is there, from an advertising standpoint, or, I know that one time we were going to be working with maybe some of the downtown companies to kind of see about working out some kind of deal where they can have almost like a park and ride to bring some of their employees down. Has that been considered again by any chance?
Well, our park and ride lot is still in place, and if people want to take advantage of that opportunity, we certainly welcome them to do that. But we're encouraging people as much as possible to jump on the bus in their communities and don't even move their car unless they just have to. Get the buses in their communities or in their neighborhoods. And because the more that they ride with us and the longer that they ride, perhaps they'll come to enjoy being a part of our ridership. But the park and ride lot is there, but we haven't really pushed too much on advertising that again. But hey, that's something we can certainly consider. Thank you for that suggestion.
Well, hopefully they'll come down in prices, but you never know. I know throughout the years, whenever there's been a rise in fuel.
Yeah, we tell people that. When consumers have to suffer through high gas prices, sometimes that's when our ridership does increase. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that report. Ms. Woodson, I know that we're coming up on 5 o'clock.
Yes, it's about 5:02. So
Right.
if anybody has any questions, or I guess any questions on the staff reports, we can address those, but we do have to end the meeting. So if not.
And certainly in looking at those reports, I would venture to say that Miss Carroll would love to answer any questions if you called her or contacted her.
Yes.
In regards to her report. Isn't that right, Carol?
Absolutely.
But the reports are there in our packages, everyone, and just out of respect of time for everyone, we will allow you to read through them. Certainly contact Ms. Woodson via email or phone, should there be any questions or something of major concern that maybe you've detected, certainly will be brought up at the next board meeting. Any comments from the good folks at the city of Winston-Salem, our guests?
No, sir.
No?
No additional
Oh.
comments. Nope.
Well, as always, everyone, we thank you for joining us today at our meeting. A lot got accomplished. Needless to say, there's a lot on the WSTA staff's plates right now between hiring and routes and you name it.
Yes.
It's no different than any other business, it seems like, in our world today. And we applaud the work that you guys do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you very, very much. Fellow board members, thank you for your participation. Please be safe out there. We will see you on June 23rd. We will let you know at 4 o'clock if there's a time change or an availability, we will let you know. So, Ms. Woodson, with your permission and your approval, I'll bring this meeting to adjournment.
Yes, sir. And I just would like to thank you, board members, again, on behalf of the staff and the city, that we appreciate your support and your approvals. And we wish that you have a happy Memorial Day and happy Memorial Day weekend. We're
That's
going to
right.
enjoy this 3-day
Same to
weekend.
you.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's already upon us, but it's this weekend. We're supposed to have some beautiful weather. So
Yes.
please be careful, everyone. Thank you for all that you do. Until June, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.